It is my great pleasure, as I said earlier, to have Judy speak here today. She is inspirational. Judy's going to speak to us about what happens next. Parkinson's disease has been called the designer disease because every case is unique, every story is personal. Today we will share with you two different stories which will give you another glimpse into life in the slow lane as defined by Parkinson's. Hopefully these stories will inspire you to join the battle against this debilitating disease. We have heard Gloria Carter talk to us as a carer for her husband and as an activist, accepting many invitations from community organisations to raise awareness of the disease and its wide-reaching impact on so many lives. Our next speaker, as I've said, is Judy Recher. She's returning to the library for the third time during World Parkinson's Awareness Week, which is this week, to continue her own story of life with Parkinson's. Judy was diagnosed in 2005, and she presents her own personal viewpoint of some of the challenges that she and others with Parkinson's have to face on a daily basis. A distinguished Toastmaster, Judy has been a member of Toastmasters International for more than 20 years. She has utilised her skills as a public speaker to help others to learn about the disease and to understand that, in spite of its prevalence within the community, diagnosis and treatment of Parkinson's disease is an unrecognised challenge for so many sufferers and those who support them. In spite of Judy's own developing limitations, she still actively seeks opportunities to inform the general public of the insidious nature of Parkinson's disease. In fact, she's booked in with me for next September, the first week already, so we can hear from her again next year. Please join me now in welcoming Judy.
Shake your hand. Get myself settled here. I'm not turned on.
Let me get this out of your way.
Can you hear me? Oops. Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. Normally, as a Toastmaster, you would never hold your papers up in front of you while you're trying to speak. But unfortunately, no, it's not unfortunate. That happens all the time. It's getting better. How's that? Within the last month, I have noticed that my eyesight is being affected. And my notes here are, when I look at them, they're double. I've got double notes. And no matter what distance I try to put my notes when I'm speaking, I can't get them in focus. So if I have to hold them to speak, it's still not going to change my message. I am so happy to be here. I was so excited this morning when I woke up and it was sunny, and I said, oh, thank you, God, for a beautiful day, because I want to go. I've been looking forward to it for months. So thanks to all of you for coming. Just a second. Yes, Gloria and I today are hoping that we will inspire you enough to, I'm reading your introduction of me. Honestly, that's what happens when you can't see. Is this mine? Nope, that's Gloria's introduction. Normally I'm more organized than this. There's my first page. We'll start over. I am so happy to be here. I could go no further. I reached out and touched her arm, and I said to her, "Are you going to buy something now?" And she said, "Yes." And I gave her a $5 note and I said, "Would you please order me a cappuccino? I can't move very well right now." She took the money and I shuffled over to the nearest table and sat down. She brought me my change and joined her friends at another table. I sat there, drank my coffee, watched the shoppers walking past. And when I was ready to go, I walked over to her table and I thanked her for helping me. And I said to her, "I have Parkinson's disease, and when my medication runs out, I have trouble moving." And she said to me that her husband sitting next to her also had Parkinson's. He and I are among those 80,000 people who have Parkinson's disease. Many people in the community, as Gloria said, including health professionals, know very little about the impact of Parkinson's on the individual, the family, the carers, their communities, and the nation as a whole. I am grateful for this chance to talk to you. In the first place, I love being up in front. I mean, there's two kinds of people in this world. There's those that walk into a room and say, "Here I am." And there's others that walk into a room and say, "Oh, there you are. Guess which kind I am." I love being up in front. And I love talking to people. And I love the fact that I can help others by talking. Gloria, I like to talk.
You could have fooled me.
As Gloria said, she and I are accredited by Parkinson's New South Wales to help bring awareness of the disease to the community. Gloria has explained to you how difficult it is to diagnose Parkinson's, and part of that is because each case is so unique. There's no cure for Parkinson's, but progression of the disease is usually slow, and the symptoms are treated as they arise. However, most sufferers will have periods of decreasing ability to move and to have their daily life. Today I'm going to share with you my own personal experiences and show you how the disease can progress with time. The beginning. In spite of the difficulty in diagnosing Parkinson's disease, there were signs or signals that came to me in 2005 that made me think I might have it. My right foot, when I walk, seemed to slap down. You know how it is with someone with cerebral palsy and they have that slapping thing? That's what my right foot was doing. My right arm would not swing when I walked. I couldn't brush my teeth on the right side of my mouth until I got an electric toothbrush. And my handwriting would get smaller and smaller and smaller until there was nothing to be able to see. And most of all, I had difficulty in concentrating on any sort of thinking work, doing my correspondence, teaching my postgraduate science students, doing my accounts. In the beginning, I did not want to know all the things that could happen to me. Like many others, I was overwhelmed by the potential of my body to undermine my security, my self-esteem, my relationships, and my future. Am I still okay? Yep. Okay. It is difficult to believe, excuse me while we have a hair thing.
Beautiful.
It is difficult to believe that it has been 9 years since Parkinson's became a part of my life. Life with Parkinson's can be challenging, but it can also reveal hidden strengths that we didn't know we had. For example, when we think we can't go on any further, we keep on going. With Parkinson's, the thing that for me was the most frustrating aspect of the disease is the on-off cycle. On, when my medication kicks in, and in the earlier years, you almost had to hold me down because I'm ready to fly. And off, when the medicine suddenly runs out. And the change is instantaneous. One step to the next step, and it's there. In the beginning, 4-hour cycles of medication kept me moving freely all day. But then the medication became less efficient. And the on time took longer to kick in, and the off time arrived much faster. Now, I have my medication every 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours, every 2.5 hours. That is a real challenge when you have to take your medicine on an empty stomach. Except one pill that has to be taken with a meal. As I said, it's a challenge. My symptoms are, well, as Gloria has explained to you, the key symptoms of Parkinson's disease. There are many other symptoms that are not obvious, and they may not even be aware of them until they become a challenge. So just a glimpse of some of the symptoms that I experience now will give you some idea of the difficulty in predicting the impact of Parkinson's on your life. For example, I move all the time. You may have, this is a very good example of, is it dyskinesia?
Yes.
My mother, not my mother, she's dead. My sisters, my daughters and so on tell me I'm never still. I'm not. When I brush my teeth, I'm doing this sort of thing with my hips. Or in the kitchen, I'm cooking and I'm rocking back and forth. And I sit on the couch and I have my foot on a table, and before I know it, my foot's fallen onto the floor because I've been vibrating it off. Those are just little things. The worst thing that I'm having right now is this vision thing. If I can't read, I don't know what I'm going to do. But we'll see what happens. Especially when I'm tired, I'm aware that everything looks double. Fortunately, my reading glasses do clarify things a bit. I found in 2011 when we visited my mother-in-law in Florida that I really can't swim anymore. It doesn't matter whether it's a foot of water or 5 feet of water or whatever. My legs don't work right. And I end up being afraid and panicked, and I'm doggy paddling, trying to find some place to put my feet down. And it's no further than this. But the panic is there. So I really don't swim anymore. There are physical changes to you as well. Gloria described the stooped over position of people who have Parkinson's. Not everybody, but some do. Well, for me, one of the greatest physical change that has caused hassles is that all the toes of my right foot are at that angle. Now, when that happened, my podiatrist told me that that was because it was an adjustment to help me maintain my balance with Parkinson's. But what happens is because the toes are over that way and the muscles and so on are stretched, there's no support for the bones on top. And sometimes it can be excruciatingly painful and difficult to move around. And that has nothing to do with Parkinson's, that's your feet. Just a little side thing. Another thing that I've noticed over the last few months is I'll be reading, sitting on the couch, and all of a sudden I'll realize I'm in this position. And it's a gradual thing, I'm not aware of it. I'm reading. Oh! Doing that. I hope so. Yep, it still works.
Good. Yep.
That's a good example of random movements.
That all just smash everything. There we go. Keep going.
what is.
Doesn't take.
Put you on the other side.
Doesn't matter. Does it work? Are we on? Whoops. Okay, that's all right. Okay, Andrew, I hope you can edit that bit out.
Now the vanity kicks in.
All right, another thing. How many of you notice how difficult it can be sometimes to put your foot lift your foot up enough to go into your underpants or your socks, try to put your socks on? That's really, really fun. How many of you have trouble turning over in bed at night, especially in the wintertime? Raise your hands. Wow. Well, let me tell you, that is one battle with Parkinson's that I have won. Let me tell you how. Are you ready? I am. I'm still ready. This is really a good demonstration about what can happen when you can't control your body.
Level limit.
That's right. While these ladies are kneeling at my feet, I'm going to tell you what I did about turning over in bed. Sometimes it can be so hard that you feel like you are stuck to your sheets and everything else with Velcro. And the thing is, every time you are able to move, you get stuck in another position. And that can go on forever. And by the time you're through, you look like you're playing Twister. Well, I've solved that problem. Because of my satin nightgown and my satin sheets, when I turn over in bed at night, I slide from one side of the bed to the other. And I have to chase my pillow down the wall. Hey, think about it. If both of you wear satin nightwear, there'll be no telling where you'll end up. This is really an active talk, isn't it? Does it, you hear me? You can hear me, okay. My main concern today is freezing. You know what freezing is, I'm sure. That's when my forward movement stops and my feet are frozen to the floor and I can only move with difficulty. Unfortunately, it is not responsive to medication. And freezing has affected my life in several different ways. I don't know what this thing looks like now.
Doesn't matter.
It's good, it works.
Action statement.
It is difficult for me to be independent. I have my own little boat that I run back and forth to Brooklyn in all weathers. Last week when we had all that rain and I walked in, I was so wet that my people in the exercise class, my friends, dried me with paper towels. It makes it difficult to get around the house and the garden, anywhere. But I am still carrying my laundry up and down 12 steps. Still doing that. It can be frustrating. I go to the train station, I go through the ticket machine, I put my ticket in and I stand there and the gate's open and I stand there and the gate's shut and I put my ticket in again and the gate's open and I'm through. Now that can happen on elevators, anything, and it's frustrating and it can be embarrassing. I just say I have Parkinson's. And it can be frightening. One day I came home from the exercise class, and as I pulled my boat up into the pontoon, everything drained from me. There was nothing left. But somehow I managed to get my boat tilted up and get all the bits and pieces put away. And then I stood there on the seat of the boat, holding the rope, ready to step out onto the pontoon. And I couldn't do it. I stood there and stood there and stood there. And I started to cry. Somehow or other, I got from the boat to the pontoon. But by then, I was crying so hard. It was those deep, gut-wrenching sobs, the kind that clean you out, which is what I needed. I needed to be able to get rid of that fear, that pain, and anger, all those things. So I cried all the way up to the house. And my husband tried to comfort me. And I said, no, I have to do this. I have to get it out. I have to let it go. When you're upset, when you're angry, you swear, you stomp around everything. I have to do this. And I did. And it really did help. Now the thing about freezing that is so poignant and is my greatest fear is because of my mother. In the 12 years from the time she was diagnosed, my mother fell 3 times. Her body would be walking along with her walker, and her feet would stick, and the momentum would carry her over the front of the walker. Well, she broke her arm. Then she broke her collarbone. And the last time she broke her neck and had to have a halo brace drilled into her skull for 7 months. I wonder why I'm afraid of falling. But the most important protection against falling is maintaining strength and flexibility and balance through exercise. Parkinson's disease has been described as progressively debilitating. And research studies have shown that moderate to vigorous exercise can slow the progression of the disease for up to 40%. The benefits of the senior exercise program that I attend 3 times a week are substantiated by regular assessments of the participants. And I have been fortunate in that living on Dangar Island for 40 years, without a car, doing everything by public transport, and with my senior exercise class, and it has kept me strong and mobile. Despite the changes in my energy levels over time, the 7th assessment of the exercise program for me showed that I was stronger than I was when I first started 4 years earlier. Now, with Parkinson's becoming a progressively debilitating disease, to be able to be stronger afterwards is a real asset. Now I want to ask all of you something. Have you ever seen a 74-year-old bicep like that? Have you? And guess what? I have another one. In addition to exercise, freezing happens whether you do or don't. And it can be so frustrating and diverting and, as I said, fearful. But there are mechanisms that you can use to help cope. Gloria gave us an example with her husband and the medical person working with him in his walking. Well, for me, I have my own little formula. And guess what? All my friends in Brooklyn in the exercise class, they know that formula. And I'll be walking along with them, and all of a sudden my feet will get close together, and I'm trying to go, and my body's starting to lean forward, and I'll stop there and I'll say, big steps, big steps, big steps, big steps. Sometimes they're not so big. Sometimes they're not far apart, but they get me there. And I do this whenever I really get stuck, and I catch myself, big steps, big steps. So what happens next? My own Parkinson's journal has proven to be an invaluable resource. It enables me to assess progression of the disease. I can look back and see the changes in treatment, medication, research, and my personal thoughts of how I'm coping with life. Organized chronologically, I have complete records of reports for each consultation with my neurologist, detailed results of specialized treatments like MRIs, ultrasound, lab tests, a complete record of all the medication used in treatment and the results of whether it was successful or not. And I have my personal feedback on the changes over time. I am aware that I am now entering a new stage when my medication fails to kick in at all. And I experience a total lack of energy, motivation, and the ability to accomplish anything. It is difficult to see beyond the moment. And I've asked myself in despair, is this how it's going to be? In the past, each time this has happened, my neurologist and I were able to reverse the pattern with a minor adjustment in my medication. But I know the time will come when I must consider other options. Living on Dangar Island for 40 years has kept me strong. But the time may come when neither my husband nor I will be able to physically cope with life on the island. What then? We have many choices ahead of us, but with help, we will work it out together. Gloria has encouraged us to talk about Parkinson's. When I was a little girl, I told my mother I wished my mouth went all the way around my head so I wouldn't get tired when I talked. It doesn't, and I don't. But I talk about Parkinson's every chance I get. It doesn't take much to spread the word. I've learned through Parkinson's that it doesn't matter whether I'm on or off, whether I'm frozen or mobile, I still can make a difference. I have an important message to pass on to others. Through my public awareness speeches, conversations with people on the train, the street, in shops, everywhere I go, I'm raising consciousness about the impact of Parkinson's. Let me give you the perfect example. I just love this story. And by the way, you may notice I like stories, and that's what I do. I have the ability to take an event and make a story out of it, like this one. When I visited my daughter in Armadale, a friend that I had worked with before had asked me if I wanted to speak to his Rotary Club. And I agreed, but he didn't give me enough time to fit into their program, and all I had was 10 minutes. So Gary picked me up at 5 minutes to 7 in the morning. I take my first dose at 7 o'clock. And we went to the club, and it was a breakfast meeting. I walked in with my cane, like this, and I sat down. We had breakfast. A young lady was competing in a speech contest the next week, and she gave her speech, and they evaluated her. And then it was my turn. Well, I got up and they were so impressed with the change that the president said, "Will you come back and give us a full talk?" Sure, next time I'm in Armadale, we'll arrange it. Then I went to the market in the mall on Sunday. And I'm walking along and I hear, "Hey, you're moving a lot better now." And it was another man from the club. And we talked about Parkinson's. And he asked me if I'd come and give a talk to his club, which was a men's shed. Well, that was fantastic, 2 talks. And then I went window shopping, and I'm standing in a little boutique shop at the very back, looking at clothes. And everything went out. Completely. Now, one of the things that happens to me is when I'm vulnerable, it doesn't take much to make me cry. The owner of the shop came over to me, put her hand on my arm and said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "I have Parkinson's disease. Don't worry, it's not emotional, it's just chemical." And then I sat in the front of the shop until my daughter came. And while I was there, I was talking to her and I said, "Do you know that I'm certified by Parkinson's New South Wales to bring awareness to the community about the disease?" Tears poured down. Well, anyway, I put my message out. The next day, Monday, I I basically exploded into her shop. I was so excited. And she, oh my God, will you come and talk to my group? It doesn't take much. It doesn't take many to make people aware. They say that time flies when you're having fun. In my mind, these last 9 years have been the best time of my life. And I wouldn't trade a single day. I once wrote that you cannot learn the lessons of life until you have lived them. And Parkinson's disease has been my latest and greatest teacher. In spite of my daily challenges and concerns for the future, I have to say in all honesty that Parkinson's has taught me so much. When I look back over the last 9 years, I visualize my illness as a little red flag to the side of my path. And with it is a message. Judy, you're not giving yourself enough time to do what's important. So we're going to give it to you. Parkinson's disease has opened so many doors for me. And I am thankful that I am able to see them as opportunities to learn and to grow. I have learned that those of us with Parkinson's live a triple A life. A, for awareness. We're aware of the disease and what it does to our bodies, what it does to our families, our carers. We are aware of the resources available to us, and we are aware of the changes that can happen, which brings us to A, adaptability. We have to be able to adapt. We have no choice. Our bodies change. Our lifestyles change. So many things change. What alternative have we got except to adapt? And the final A is for acceptance. I know that there will be slow times. I know that there will be low times. But these do not define who I am. My daughter told me, enjoy your moments of inability. Have you ever considered that they could be gifts of time from your angels just to be? This gift can be your time for reflection, for building inner strength, and to prepare for the next step in the fight against Parkinson's. In my own way, I'm fighting back. This is my 8th community awareness presentation, and because my symptoms have changed over time, each time it's a challenge. I have volunteered to be part of 2 research studies organized by the Sydney University's Brain and Mind Institute. I have willed my brain to be used for research, but only when I'm through with it. Each Parkinson's speech has been filmed by my wonderful friend, Andrew Host, producing DVDs which are used for training young doctors in Hornsby Hospital. Isn't that wonderful? Andrew, wonderful? And most importantly, like everyone in this room, I believe in myself and what I can do now. Like everyone in this room, all we have is now. What are you going to do?